Hi Ministry of Test Athens, it's Simon from the Selenium project. Congratulations on your 4th anniversary and even more congratulations on your 10th meetup. I've always been so impressed by everything about Ministry of Test Athens. The events are well organised and the attendees are always brilliant. Wishing you every success in the future, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. Take care, have fun, and happy hacking.
Hi, I'm MoT Athens. My name is Diana. I am the event boss at Ministry of Testing, and I am here today to wish you a huge happy birthday for your 4 years anniversary and as well your 10th meetup in Athens. So massive congratulations for that. That's a massive achievement. And as well, just to share a little bit of my jealousy of your meetups and how good they are and what makes them good. Well, we have Petros behind a lot of them, which puts a lot of work in. So Petros, massive thank you to put everything together for everyone. And of course, without our amazing volunteers, yes, all of you guys putting all the extra work as well to make it happen, and as well sponsors and all of you attending. So basically a massive thanks to everyone, and I'm just here to share as well how jealous I am of all your amazing meetups, and I wish one day I can come to one of yours and meet you all in person. So yes, enjoy, and a massive congratulations again from Manchester, UK. Bye bye.
Yassas to Canada. Congratulations, MoT Athens, on your 4-year anniversary. That is absolutely amazing. I hope you're all enjoying your 10th meetup together today, hanging out, learning from each other, and enjoying your company, and doing the amazing things that you continue to do as a community. I'm Simon, community boss here at Ministry of Testing, and I absolutely love everything you do. I follow along on LinkedIn. I see through Petros and what he shares, all the awesome stuff that you do as a community, the way you get together and share and learn, discover useful information from each other and connect and build those really solid relationships. So thank you for all of that hard work. It goes a long way to creating a place that people feel safe, people are encouraged to share, to be themselves and to learn from each other. So I'm really grateful for that. It's absolutely amazing. You should all feel really proud of what you've achieved within 4 years. It's amazing. So please do enjoy the rest of your celebration today. Keep lifting each other up and learning from each other. Take care, and hopefully see you around soon at some point in the future. Bye for now.
Hello, Ministry of Testing Athens. Richard Bradshaw here, boss at Ministry of Testing. I just wanted to congratulate you on your 10th meetup. You call them meetups, but we know they're full-blown conferences. It's absolutely incredible. But yeah, and your 4th year anniversary. So huge congratulations to the whole of the Ministry of Testing Athens community, especially the people who are coming to these events, the people who are attending and networking and learning from them. And of course, obviously the team behind the meetups. You know, there's a lot of great work that you do. You know, you're leading the way in meetups. Your meetups are a different scale. You're a shining example of what we would love to see all around the world. So huge congratulations to you all. I will definitely make it to Athens one day. I can't wait to come along to the meetup and attend. When the time is right, it will work out and I'll be there. But yeah, have a fantastic evening. Absolute joy watching the work that you're all doing as a full-blown wide community. And then hopefully chat to some of you all across the wider Ministry of Testing over the coming months and years. All right, have a great evening. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Hello, Ministry of Testing Athens. I hope you're all well. I just wanted to say a massive happy 4th birthday, 4 years. It's a big achievement. 4 years goes by incredibly quickly, and thank you for having me on the list of speakers to come and meet you all and speak at your events over the last 4 years. It's been an honor, and it's been so much fun. Everyone has been just so amazing, and yeah, enjoy the 10th meetup. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun, and I really hope to see you all very, very soon. Take care, have fun, bye.
Hey, Ministry of Testing Athens, I'm Hannah. I'm co-organiser of Ministry of Testing Newcastle, and I just want to say happy birthday! 4 years, congratulations, that's absolutely fantastic. I've had the privilege of attending one of your meetups firsthand and getting to see what a fantastic community that the Ministry of Testing Athens has to offer was just mind-blowing. You know, you are all fantastic people, so welcoming, so friendly, and just amazing. Like, congratulations, guys. I want to say, yeah, obviously a massive thank you to the organisers and to the sponsors and to just everyone else who meets up regularly and is part of the community. You're all absolutely fantastic. I wish you all best for the many, many, many years that are to come. And once again, happy birthday!
Welcome to the 10th meetup of Ministry of Testing Athens. 10 meetups. 10 meetups, 4 years, and I have to say that building up a community from the ground up the past few years, it has been one of the most rewarding experiences. However, as I always say, community is not an idea, it's people. And we couldn't do anything without a lot of help from a lot of people. Ministry of Testing Athens is a team, and I would like personally to thank each one of our members. So please let me introduce you, each one. So, George, Nikki, Konstantina, Ioanna, Penny, Anna, Fotini, Katerina, Eleni, sorry, Irini, Argyro, Christiana, Ilias, Kostas, Yorgos, and of course, Nikos, that's the organizer of Ministry of Testing.
Hello, thank you guys. Thank you all to the participants for joining us tonight. I hope you will find today's presentation useful or at least inspiring, that you can leave this meetup with some gain of it. Now I will present George.
Hi, thank you all for being here today. It's wonderful. It's, as Petros said, 4 full years since we first started here. It's very nice having all of you here, and it is my honor to introduce to you our host for tonight, our hostess actually. It's Daria.
Thank you. I really like the system of us introducing each other. It's much more communal. I hope you agree. It's my honor to introduce the main organizer of the Ministry of Testing, the one who brought this whole thing in Athens, in Greece. I think it's incredible. And I mean, gosh, there's so much to say about you. I mean, you, besides being an organizer, you're also a speaker. He travels and he speaks all over the world. And I just want to highlight a couple of places you've spoken at, which is the Ohio State University in the US. He's spoken at the official tech meetup of the BBC channel, which is quite nice. And more recently at the Test Bash in Manchester. And of course, you're going to do more speeches, obviously, as time goes on. And I think the best thing that you've done, which you've told me, I'm speaking to him directly, but also it's for you guys as well, is that you've helped a lot of people find employment in the industry, and that's the most wonderful achievement. So it's my honor to introduce you, Petros Plakogiannis. That's it. Good night. Do you want me to stay by myself, or? Yes. Yeah? Okay. Great. So yeah, these were our volunteers and our organizers and me. Welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. And as everybody said, this is our 10th meetup in our 4th year, and we've gone through the pandemic and COVID and online meetups, and I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank the Hellenic American Association Union? How is Union? Hellenic American Union, right? Do you remember? Yes. So much for giving us this space again. And what else do you want? There's so much to say. Okay, so at the end of the meetup, we have cocktails, beers, drinks, and pizzas upstairs at the very, very top, the rooftop. So everyone is welcome until 11 p.m. We're going to have a party after this meetup. We have a contest one contest with 3 gifts. 2 of the gifts are a Raspberry Pi and a Samsung Galaxy tablet. If you want to take part in the contest, feel free to scan the QR codes. Thank you. You'll see them on the walls. The 3rd gift is a JBL Bluetooth speaker from, I'm wearing the socks, Sauce Labs. And if you want to take part in that, you can scan the QR code on their stall, the booth there. What else? We're also taking videos and pictures tonight. If you don't want to be included in the videos and the pictures for any reason, privacy, whatever, your hair is not right tonight, whatever you want, find one of our volunteers and let us know. And I think that's about it. I think we're about to start, right? So before our first main speaker, I want to introduce on the stage our first sponsor, which is Unisystems. And I want to introduce the first speaker, which is Yorgos Karatiotis from Unisystems. Please come on the stage. Oh, hi, yes.
Hello, good evening from me. It's a pleasure to be here again. It's a very nice event with all these people. I have only a few slides, so pretty much talking about something that you can understand it, about the boom in the positions of software testing in Greece. So let me go through the slides. So you see that there are so many positions recently, mostly because of either new positions from companies or startups or expansion of existing companies. Also, there are many positions from companies abroad who are hiring remote positions from Greece, which is very new, good news. Already, as I counted yesterday, we have 23 positions in the Ministry of Testing job board. I think it's a new record, I would say, by monitoring the positions in the few years recently. It's what I say golden era for software testers. War for recruiters, of course. Everybody's trying to hire new positions, to cover the positions. And companies also struggle to maintain the positions and also cover any new cases. So that's a really, really good case for software testers. So a few thoughts from my side by going through so many interviews. So what are the top 10, I would say, characteristics of a company that people are thinking before either they decide to stay on their current position or move to a new position? So I just put there 10 thoughts from my side, nothing in a specific order. I expect that most of you are having similar thinking, and you can, of course, have different prioritization on these 10, let's say, factors. The first one is a brand new one, I would say. It was there in the past, but not to the level and the extent that is currently, the remote work model. So there are many positions that say full remote. So that's, I would say, it's a benefit that's really advertised in the positions. Of course, the compensation package is an old one and, of course, nice one. Company culture, history and stability. The career prospects, about how much you feel appreciated in the position that you are going to undertake. Training opportunities, what I call the challenge to grow. Modern technologies and processes. Of course, you want to move to a position that utilizes the latest trends, let's say, in the processes and the tools that are available. Work-life balance, really important for all of us. Environment, colleagues, and collaboration, how much you feel happy in the position that you're going to undertake. Fairness, transparency, and consistency, values that are very important for companies. And of course, working in a company that adds value to our work, a company that you feel proud of working there. So with this, let's say, thoughts in mind, I expect that all of you are having similar thinking before joining a new company. So feel free to browse also the position from Unisystems. As all the rest here, we are also hiring. The positions are on our website, also on the job board of the Ministry of Testing, and also on LinkedIn. So thank you very much, and enjoy the event tonight.
Thank you very much. I hope you are all ready for our first speaker tonight. And I hope our first speaker is ready also for tonight. I'm very excited. Her name's Laveena Ramchandani, and I made sure to pronounce her name correctly. The title of her speech is How to Bring Accessibility into Your Teams. And when I asked her how she would like to be introduced, she told me two things. The first thing is that she's been speaking in conferences since 2020. And the second thing is that she wants to share knowledge. But not only that, she also wants to learn. And I think that's just a wonderful thing. And I would like to introduce her on the stage. Please, where is she? Laveena. Welcome her on the stage. I didn't see you, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Just quickly connect to the laptop.
Just got a blue screen, unfortunately. Yes, we have a blue screen of death, and it counts something. We are at 50% completed. It will be soon over.
Is this on? Gosh, that's the worst.
I know, and it happens at least once a week.
What's the solution to that? Who knows? Does anybody know? Because this happens to me as well, and I just cry. Someone is raising their hand. Okay, tell us. See? Okay. Yes. Okay, that's a great.
It is called the blue screen of death.
That's terrible. I hate that.
The official.
That's the official name?
Yes.
Does this happen only on PC or on Mac as well?
It doesn't happen on Mac.
Ever?
No, not a lot.
Why does this happen on PC?
Maybe they're doing updates in the company. Could be that. And they do a lot of updates.
Okay.
75, 80, we're almost there.
Okay. No, see, I have no idea. I mean, this is... Okay, there you go. Yay, 100%. Okay. Is there any point in asking people whether they prefer Mac or PC? Is there like a... Is one better than the other? I'm asking because I have no idea. Because should I buy Mac or PC? You guys are experts. I'm just asking the people in the audience. Petros, where's Petros? Petro, what do you think, Mac or PC? It's a valid question. You're Mac? Okay. I just don't know if Mac is like a...
It's very expensive, but it's a little bit better.
Yeah, very efficient.
I thought it was more expensive because of the aesthetics. Yeah? Okay, great. I know I need to fill the time, but I have no idea what else to say, because... How are you guys? Does anybody have like a joke for software testing? Is that a... Wim, do you have a joke? Do you want to tell us a joke whilst we wait for Laveena? Okay, yes, tell us a joke.
Like I already mentioned, bad jokes. Who knows a mouse that has 2 legs? Nobody? Okay, Mickey Mouse. But who knows a duck who has 2 legs? Every duck. As I said, really bad joke, but that's... Are you ready?
Yeah, ready? Yeah, okay. Do you want me to call? Do you need help? Okay.
I think it's all on those screens. Okay. Right, finally. Thank you very much for your patience. We always... Thank you. We always have to have some sort of technical issue, isn't it? We can't have an IT event without an issue. So there was mine. So thank you very, very much. First of all, I should say yeses to everyone. And thank you very, very much to the volunteers, Petros, our sponsors, for having me here today. Really, really excited to share. And I hope you can take this back to your company and make the best out of accessibility if you don't have it already. And if you're if this is already in place, ways to improve it is another option for you as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay. Yeah, this one, right, left. Okay. Okay. What's happened? There we go. All right. So a little bit about myself. I've been testing over 9 years, so I think next year it will be 10 years to me being in the testing world. I've studied computer science, but guess what? They never taught what testing was about. So welcome to the world of testers. I'm an avid blogger. I speak a lot. I started speaking in 2020 when I thought I'll be more comfortable speaking online. I don't need to be scared to be on stage. So that's where I started from, and I really loved it. That's why I continue to do so. I've been hosting a lot of events, some of them being Ministry of Testing events as well. I'm a trainer at the Coders Guild, so I teach how to test from the very start. And also, I'm a test manager or quality engineer manager at EasyJet. Right. So today's table of contents includes 3 different parts. First, I will start with some background knowledge of how I got into accessibility. Why accessibility is important. Why should we really do it? The benefits around it. How did I bring accessibility into the team? Coaching your teams, because it's not just about sharing knowledge, but how to actually get them to think so that they can be out there and they can have inclusive designs, and it's not just about always trying to develop and put it into production, but how to actually think about everyone, not just a certain number or percentage of audience. And also when to do accessibility and tips. Right. So I really like this. The power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. So this is something by Tim Berners-Lee, and it's super important because it just tells you how many times do we actually build web applications or just systems that have a front end, and we don't even think about accessibility because we are in a rush to go into production because we want to make sure we keep going forward, and we don't need to think about some of the non-functional bits, especially being accessibility. Many of us have been in those kind of teams, and many of us will continue to do so. So how do we actually think about it, put a break on, and then say, what about accessibility? So that's the way that we're going to learn here today. Okay, so did you know these are the numbers of people working around the world? So I could only find a couple of continents where people have a disability, whether it's a small disability, temporary, but they're working, they're all working. So they may have color blindness, they may have a fractured arm temporarily, but they're all working. So these are the people, but are we catering our applications for them? So color blindness in the UK only, it affects 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women. So certain colors are not visible. So can you imagine as testers when we are testing it, we don't really know if we are doing the right thing because we can't see the right colors. So are we making it accessible not only for our users, but for our workers as well, is a question. So as you can see, more statistics there, 8.4 million people of the working age of 16 to 64 reported that they were disabled in 2020 between the months of October and December, which is 20% of the age of the working age population. So as you can see, percentages are there, but are we catering it for them is the question that I have to all of you. So some companies who've done it wrong because of something they might have missed, something super simple, like they couldn't help users buy a pizza on Domino's online website because there was a customer who was blind and he couldn't buy the pizza and he got stuck. There was a trap on the website. So he went and sued Domino. Same with Beyonce's company. Who's Beyonce's fan over here? Quite a lot? Okay, just one. All right. Yeah. Yeah, of course. So her company, right, they were having a concert. So there was a blind fan of hers who wanted to book a ticket. Unfortunately, couldn't book it through the website. Sued Beyonce's company. It just takes one person, that's all I'm saying. Just one person to kind of not be able to do what they want to do, and then it takes them to further steps. So why are we not thinking about that? Why are we not catering for them? But then there are some companies who do follow the accessibility guidelines, the standards, and the approaches, and get the things right. So Tesco, being one of the biggest supermarkets in England, easy to do shopping on there, easy to actually buy stuff. It's pretty standard. And then Legal & General, one of the insurance companies, they're also following the accessibility guidelines. And same for NHS, which is our medical system. And it's fairly easy. And when you go on these websites, you can see that nothing is too complicated. It may look a bit boring, but it's very simple. Like, you can read everything. You won't get trapped at all. You can do what you need to do. So my question to all of you and to think is, are we making it accessible for them? So for individuals with a disability, technology makes things easier. But for individuals for individuals without a disability, technology makes things easier. But for people with a disability, technology makes things possible. So right now, I'm wearing contact lenses, right? I normally wear glasses. So glasses is my assisted technology. So I can see some people wearing glasses here today. It's our assisted technology. If I took this off, I see everyone blurry here. So if we think like this and we have this sort of culture embedded in our companies, it just makes inclusive designs internally and externally. So how did I come across accessibility as a tester? So I'll tell you a very real story. I was working for a very well-known bank, and it was about open banking, and we were in a rush to go in production. We had to kind of release ASAP, and guess what? No one thought about accessibility because we just had to release. And maybe the requirement was that we won't need accessibility at that time. But being a big bank and having an application go out there for the public, for the world to use, that was not the good step. So my manager came up to the team and said, "Have you thought about accessibility?" And I was like, "Sorry, what? Accessibility? What even is that?" And that's when I started thinking, right, it's a joint mistake of the whole team that we didn't know about this. And what is accessibility? That's where I started learning about it. That's where I started reading about it. And I was like, this is such a major topic. And how did we miss this, being a bank? So that's where the whole accessibility experience for me started. Why did I think of this topic? Because I know for sure companies right now as well need a bit of that push to kind of think into these things. I was at Deloitte before EasyJet, and we were not thinking about accessibility, even though we had a front-end application. So had to push it slowly, but get there. You know, with testers, we are very motivated. We go like 10 steps ahead and then get pushed 5 back. So it's fine to get the push back, but push in the right direction so eventually you get there. So I wanted to ask you guys, are you aware of accessibility? Can I see some hands? Who's heard of it, or just vaguely heard of it but don't know the details yet? Okay, I can see some hands, which is good. But I also wanted to give you some resources out there. So there's quite a few people who talk about accessibility out there, some of them being names like Marie Drake, Adi Stokes, myself. There's loads of people out there that you can actually see a material in Ministry of Testing You can actually even do an accessibility challenge, which is a 30-day challenge, and that would also help you to learn about it step by step. So why is accessibility important? First of all, for the community, it's a relationship you build with them. You are thinking about everyone, not just 80% of the people, the 20 other percent too, for example. You're smart, business-wise, it works for you. It's an innovative design. You're thinking about everyone. Then you've got innovation. Because many companies are not embedding this at a very start, you stand a bit more innovative in that case. The brand-wise, it helps enhance your brand. So a company where you have, say, for example, a company that is not doing accessibility versus a company that is, you have higher chances of being out there in the market. And one other thing that I have noticed myself, sometimes when I'm shopping online, certain websites are so difficult to use, or it's like your mind is so set that I want to do this like this, but you can't do it. You close the tab and you go to another company. Easy options, easy company names, I can tell you. Zara and Mango, for example, we loads of us shop there, don't we? So it's just what is comfortable. Then market research. If you are bringing accessibility into your companies, you're extending your research, you're going one step beyond. So you're helping your company and your customers reach a better product, an inclusive design. And being socially aware at the end of the day, that's a big thing. Being socially aware is really positive. And again, it minimizes legal risks. I say something, minimize your risks before risks chase you. So it's always good to kind of look into the legalities or at a very early stage rather than ending up releasing something and then having to pay a fine. So the benefits you get with this is you reach a wider audience. You can reach many people who would not otherwise be using your product. Increases usability, so you get better feedback as well. More feedback, you can do some tests, you can do usability groups in the company. You can see how people are feeling just with simple wordings, with images, with help icon, anything. Then it satisfies current and future legal requirements and ethics. So you've ticked that off at an early stage, so you're not worried what comes next, or you might have slipped something, but you've covered it, so it's all good. Improves maintainability and efficiency. So if you are doing agile or waterfall, and if you bring accessibility earlier, what this does is you're maintaining it and you're efficient. But if you start at a very later stage, number one, it's expensive later on. You have to revert back. You might have to do loads of code changes. So think about these things. If you're doing it earlier, you're being more efficient as a company. So I'm just going to play this video quickly. Right. What did you guys notice here? Any hands? I'll play it again. Exactly. There's no door handle. There's no way to get out. There's a way to get in, but no way to get out. Exactly, exactly. So what happens here is, this is when I was renovating my house last year, and that's why I've got gloves on. So we got the house, and I was thinking, how was the owner living with this door? I was like, so you can go inside, but you can't come out? How'd you do this? And luckily, I used my nails from the gloves. I was like, let me get out. And it worked. So it's really difficult. And trust me, many of our websites are like this. Literally, this is just an analogy, but many of our websites trap us. We can't use tabbing throughout, so we are trapped. So this is a great example, so I thought I'll use this for the presentation. Okay, brings me on to part 2. How did I bring accessibility to the team? It wasn't easy, I'm just going to be honest. It wasn't easy. But the way I did it was start talking about it, start bringing awareness. Ask them, have you ever heard about accessibility? Have we got any teams in this company who do accessibility? UX designers, are they aware of this? Do they put it in their best practices? So this is how you get the conversation going. Then you create some informative slides and just talk to the wider team. I started with the technology manager to see what his thoughts were. Then work on communication. Sometimes what happens is, today when I'm speaking to you, in my head I think that everyone is understanding everything, but there may be a small percentage who are a little bit confused, who might not get it. So you need to work on how to communicate and what is what's made out of it as well. So you have to work on yourself too. Also, speak to individuals and teams. So not just your technology managers or higher managers, speak to your colleagues, like ask them, have you ever done this before? Have you ever heard of this? Do you know anyone else who's done it? Can I use examples? So just use the material that exists in your company. And then suggest options, so research. So do your tests. You can do quick, easy checks from your plugins, accessibility plugins, which are freely available. You can do your little screenshots and show them percentages, and then take it back as your research onto a report. So when you create a report, you can have these screenshots there, and then you can show it to your team that, because we don't have accessibility, I've done a little report, and this is what's come out of the report. So when I did that, it looked very impactful, because I'm not just going there with words, but I've got a backup. I've got results to show you. So always take something with you, because otherwise we will look very excited, and then they'll be like, okay, next year we think about it. But we don't want to do that. We want to think now. So, and we want to try and reduce cost as well earlier rather than later. So if you follow these kind of steps, I think you're well equipped. You're taking your suitcase with enough information to actually get a tick towards the end of it. And what happened with my situation here is that I did get a tick. We started creating some stories in the backlog, and we started working on them. Some high, some medium, some low. We started really looking at the high ones, and we started implementing best practices of our front-end development code as well. Team coaching. So what do? I deliver some information. I become a subject matter expert or an advocate on accessibility. So that's what all of us can do here today. How do I convince? So basically, by explaining accessibility and making sure I deliver the vital values, the vital information that I've captured, reports. How do I back my point? So as I said, you can do your research. You can go to the wider team. Maybe there's a design team that sits separately. Ask them, what standards are we following? Are we following the single A, double A, triple A? What is it that we're following? Are we following the WCAG standards? So you need to ask these things. And how do I know they understand? So what information they understand or find as blockers? Because of course, you cannot just go and deliver everything. There might be something that's blocking us, maybe a very important delivery or something that comes first before the new bits that we want to introduce. So you need to try and coach your team as you do it. And then this brings me to part 3, when and how to do accessibility testing. So I would suggest design or planning the earliest as possible. Start thinking about it. The minute you see a feature is about a new button being added, a new design being added to your front-end application, or any sort of front-end related features coming in, I would say, start questioning this in your planning sessions. Like, have we thought about accessibility? And this is how you'll get your ticket in. Again, in the requirement stage, sometimes when we have projects coming in, you can ask already at the very, very early stage, what are we doing about accessibility? Will this be part of our strategy for the first POC that we are doing? Or we just release the first POC and then we think about it in the future releases. So have this clarity ahead of time, so then you know that your strategies are going to be with accessibility embedded in them or at a later stage. So the good old budget, everyone talks about budget. We don't want to do accessibility, it's too expensive. We might put the budget somewhere else. But would you rather risk it? Would you rather want your customers to go and use another product? You also want to reach more people. So think about this earlier, isn't it? Like, you want to have this embedded as part of your strategy, even though it's a non-functional type of testing. And guess what? You don't need to worry a lot about money because all the tools that I have used are free of cost. I've paid zero for it, and they're free. And it is important at the end of the day. We may be like, let's do it another time, but you never know who might come back and be like, right, we need to revert things back. We need to have accessibility first, then we're going to release. So we don't want to cause delays, and we don't want our product to look really bad out there in the public either. So when I said we need to report, it's important to know what to include in your reports too. So you can mention the areas that you are concentrating on. You don't need to do the whole accessibility reports of the whole product. Just pick a niche area that you're interested in. Show the results of your checks. There's percentages you can use with the plugins, like you can use Axe or Wave, any other tool that you can use. Just show some screenshots with that. And provide some suggestions, because when you provide some suggestions, like if you're good with your front-end development skills as well, like you know the right color to use or a color that's more accessible, it just helps things in a better perspective. The UX designers and the front-end developers also get a bit of that help on the side as well, like, oh, okay, yeah, we can use this. So if you have suggestions, always feel free to give them. The results that you get out of this is that you become an advocate. You're a subject matter expert in this area. You're spreading more eminence. That's what we want to do, spread more eminence about this topic and testing in general. You feel more accomplished because team members are now checking with you before they actually move their ticket to done. And they keep you in loop. So this is what was happening with me at Deloitte. The UX designers were actually asking me to test their tickets before actually they could move it to done. So I thought, follow my steps, but if you have better steps, then follow your steps. But I would say start with research. It's important to do your research, what exists in the company already. Test your application, any area that you prefer to test. Prepare an informative session, maybe for a couple of people that you think would be interested in having this, or the whole team, so that everyone knows about it. And have accessibility as part of your testing approach. So what does this leave me with? I don't know if this word exists or not, but I just put it as alified, because A11Y equals to accessibility, because there's 11 characters in between. So A11Y. So that's the trick there. Quick checks and tips and tools, free, all free. So you can download them right away. One of them is Arc Toolkit, really, really interesting. You've got Axe, which is a Google Chrome plugin. You've got Wave as well. Lighthouse, which is, Arc is not Google plugin. Lighthouse is, yes. Remove styling, so remove images off your website and look what it looks like. Some people, a small percentage of people have a bandwidth issue, or they don't like having images, so they remove all the images and they still can do their transactions or whatever they need to do, and they remove everything. So have you ever tried that? If not, try it and let's see what that looks like. I tried it with EasyJet. Horrible. Couldn't book a ticket, so yeah. Screen readers, right. Screen readers have something funky as well. They read something, but the transcript says something else. So capture that as well. Those are bugs that you can capture then, because someone might be using the same screen reader as you on Windows or Mac or your phones, but the transcript won't be right. They're just listening to something going on and on and on. So just check that too. You've got throttling as well. So people might be living in some areas where there's 4G, fast 4G, slow 4G. See how your system's working on those. See if it's giving you the right error message or not. Then you have emulation. So you've got blurred vision, protanotopia, deuteranotopia, tritanotopia, and achromatopsia as well. So you can actually go and put color blindness onto your system via Google developer tools and actually test it yourself. And the best one that I like is when you right-click on certain colors, you can actually get the contrast ratio and the standards. So this color that I've chosen there, I think it's a black color. It's AA and AAA standards by the WCAG. So you can even try doing that. It's just a right-click on the color that you're selecting on the website and dig down deeper, and you can see this kind of table there. So remember that something that I said at the start, People may have a permanent, temporary, or situational disability. And we need to respect that. We need to be socially aware. We want to reach to everyone. We shouldn't just reach to just few percentage of people. But what would be nice is to reach to everyone, and that they can still, even if they have a fractured arm, they can still do a transaction. They can book an EasyJet flight, for example. Okay. And this is something that I really like as well, is can I perceive it? Is something perceivable for me? Can I operate something? If I have a fracture, can I still operate something? Is it operable? Can I grasp it? Is it understandable? Certain words that we use on our applications, me and all of you can understand. But the public will be like, what? What is this word? I've never heard of this. So sometimes we need to work on that as well. And then, can I access it? Is it robust enough? Can I access it anywhere? Mobile, web, anywhere that I want to use it? Is it good? So again, this all leaves us becoming alified. Another video for you guys. So I'm trying to make a little cupcake thing in a mug with blueberries in the microwave. Something quick and easy after dinner, you know. No baking in the oven. But what I'm trying to do is, so the cupcake has come out, but I'm putting the blueberries on the top later. So this is just an analogy of, do your accessibility earlier, not later. If not, it will look like this. We don't want it like this. We want it beautiful. Yeah? So we want to make sure that everything's embedded earlier and sooner as possible. Okay, so a summary then. So I hope you all understood a little bit more about accessibility. I saw fewer hands at the start. I want to see now the hands up. So who understands accessibility now? Okay, yeah, good. So how to introduce to your this to your respective teams. There's steps, of course, and if you wanted to speak more, we can speak later in the break about it. What can you do? You can do a lot. You can do research, provide it to your team, have conversations. Just get it going, even little bit by little bit, but just get it going. Some useful tips and tools that I just showed you, you can just just add them into your Google plugins right away if you like. And accessibility is not an afterthought. Try and have it earlier as possible. It will just be beneficial for everyone. So yeah. So thank you very much, everyone. If you'd like to connect with me, you can you can just connect with me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Medium. I'm most social places. So thank you very much, and hope to see you later on. If you have any other further questions, I'd love to help you. Thank you.
One, two, yes. I don't know about you, but that blue screen of death just shook me to my core, and I think it's a good time for a break. So yeah, the break is starting now, and feel free to grab a coffee from Nespresso. Feel free to browse the sponsors' booths. Do not forget the contest. Scan the, I keep forgetting, the QR code from the walls and Sauce Labs as well. And I'll see you all in 15 minutes. everyone. Hi. May I invite you all back so we can continue our meetup, please, and thank you. Να βάλουμε καμία μουσική. Δεν ξέρω, να...
Δεν έχω κάνει πρόχειρο.
Κάνε Παντελίδη.
Όχι, σερβίρεται ουίσκι, εντάξει.
Είναι αργυρό που έχει και συναυλία την Κυριακή.
Ήταν χάλια.
Όντως.
Είδα βίντεο και ήταν χάλια. Είχα εισιτήριο και δεν πήγα, ευτυχώς. Exactly. That's how I donate jobs.
Συγγνώμη. Γεια σας. Να μπαίνουμε σιγά σιγά μέσα πάλι για να συνεχίσουμε το meetup. Είστε έτοιμοι? Είναι κλειστό. Ανοιχτό είναι. Α, δεν ακούγεται στα booths.
Για περάστε, για καθίστε. Έτσι κανονικά. Όλα οι κάτζες. Έλα, πάρε, πάρε.
Ξέχασα.
Τι έχουμε?
Did he say that he's going to tell you the whole story? Even if you start at...
Okay. Μετά κάτι έλεγε για πίτσα, αλλά δεν ήταν ανάμεσα από κάτι μελέτες.
Εδώ. I looked right into the light. That was not very smart. Oh, anyway. Hi, everyone. Petro, do you wanna? No? Do you wanna say hi? No? Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Take your seats if you want. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything. You can stand. Okay, so welcome back to the second part. I just want to mention that the contest for the gifts later is closed. So if you had the time to participate, well done. You might win something tonight. Also, I want to remind you about the drinks and the pizzas at the, do we call it rooftop, roof garden? Roof garden? It's not a is it a garden? Rooftop, at the rooftop. At the very, very top of, it's a rooftop, yes, so yeah, top of the floor. Tonight after the meetup until 11 p.m. So feel free to join us for pizzas, drinks, cocktails, beers, and some fun. Yes, so we continue our meetup, and before we hear from our second speaker, I would like to invite one of our sponsors on the stage, which is Camelot. May I please invite on the stage Miss Irini Kefala, so she can give the speech.
Thank you, thank you. Hi all, it's so nice seeing so many people here today. It's so nice having events like these that promote our community, and it's always a pleasure when we come to gather. So, my name is Irini Kefala. I work as a lead QA for Camelot Lottery Solutions. And actually, what we do in Camelot, we're creating instant win games. Instant win games, in an essence, is that a player is able to purchase our IWGs through our platforms, and after the animation finishes, the players know whether they have won or not. We're also creating iLottery platforms that host the IWGs, of course, but apart from that, we are also having some player account management functionalities, like registration, of course, ID verification, edit account details, some things related to bank, add funds, withdraw funds, etc., etc. And of course, we are lotteries. This means that the player can place wagers, check draw results, check their numbers through our platforms. We are also creating data platforms where we can see interactions of players in real time. And last but not least, we are creating our mobile applications, Android and iOS as well, so the players can experience our games in all channels. Where we are located, we have offices in Greece, Athens and Larissa for the time being. We also have offices in London, in Chicago and Dublin. Our software teams are mainly located in Greece. And how we work, we are separated to capabilities. We have the engineering capability that includes back-end engineers, front-end engineers, and our beloved software engineers in test. We have product owners, we have the quality and testing capability, user experience and design, security, and of course, our technical operations. All these roles are embedded within our teams. We're working following agile methodologies. This means that our teams are cross-functional and they have all the roles that are needed in order to deliver our projects. Our values drive our culture, and in this slide you may find some of these. Of course, in CLS we trust each other, we have transparency, we promote open communication and honest feedback, of course. We are one team. Each one of us is independent, working with their best way to promote our one team. But of course, at the end of the day, we are all one team. We are driving excellence in a domain highly regulated as lotteries. High quality output is the essential aspect of our deliverables. So we have our passion for technology and we drive excellence. We empower and grow together. We grow ourselves and our teams, of course, and this is done through our coaching model that we have. Our leaders are not just leaders or managers, they are also coaches of their team. And of course, our people always come first. We love having fun, no matter your role, your seniority or anything. At the end of the day, you are part of our team. Our testing is done through innovation, of course, and we also promote open source. In this slide, you may find some of the tools that we use, either for our automation testing or our manual testing. And in that slide, we have prepared for you a small demonstration of some of our IWGs. And now my wonderful assistant will help me to play the video. Thank you. So that was all from us. I will be happy to meet you in our booth. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now a word from SOS Labs, the sponsor who helped bring Mr. Wim Sellis tonight. We have Mr. Eyal Yovel on the stage. Warm welcome. Or not. Yes. Yes. I think yes. Is it? Wait. Is it this or is it upside down? No. Wait.
Okay, I will find it.
Is that it? Okay. Do you want this?
There one? There? This one. Hi everyone, thank you for coming. This should be a short introduction about SOS Labs. So first of all, your SOS team for today. First of all, Emma, Director of Success in EMEA. Also, she is my manager, so this is one of the reasons she is first on the slide. If I want to be also in the next meetup. Wim, Staff Product Manager, that he has a talk after this presentation, so I assume that he will introduce himself, and myself, Eyal, Senior Solution Architect at SOS Lab. So what is SOS Labs? And this is the only slide that actually I need to read everything, I don't remember. So SOS Lab is a full-scale testing platform that supports every stage on your software development and operation lifecycle to ensure complete digital confidence every time a user hits your website or app, regardless of the device, browser, or operating system from which it is being accessed. What does that mean? Those are the main features that we have in our platform. If we will start with the web app desktop browser, so if you have a web app that you need to test, you can test it on any combinations of browsers, browser versions, operating systems, Windows, Mac, or whatever. Resolutions, you can test your web apps on Android emulators, iOS simulators, and you can test your website on thousands or hundreds of combinations of read devices. It can be private devices for your own organization. It can be public devices with also the newest devices and operating system in the market. If we move on to the mobile apps, if you have a native apps, hybrid app, and you want to test it on SOS Labs, you can upload your app to SOS Labs, and when you start your run, you can add network capture if you want to capture also network traffics during the executions, image injections if you need to inject images, scan QR code, scan a check, or during the registrations if maybe you need to scan device license, so you can also do that. Biometric authentications, Face ID, or fingerprint if you need to test, and OS audio if your native apps has audio, you want to hear that, for example, for accessibility from the previous slide. So you can also do that when you enable the OS audio. And again, you can test that on any available device on our cloud, and emulator and simulators. Frameworks. So automated testing frameworks. So of course, we support all the traditional frameworks, Selenium, Appium, with all the binding languages, Java, WebDriver.io, JS, C#, Ruby, Pythons. But also, we understand that during this time, this is not enough. The trend is shift left, so more developers are involved in testing and the quality of the app. So last year, I think, Wim and I did a webinar about not one ring to rule them all, but we call it one runner to rule them all. Because using SOS Labs, you can test, we have a runner that you can test also frameworks such as Cypress, Playwright, Test Cafe, and also Espresso and XUI test you can also run on our cloud. And we understand that it's not enough. Running your test, it's not enough. If you have any issue, you need fast feedback. You need fast feedback. You need to debug the app. You need to find the errors and to fix that. And for that, we have different tools and integrations. For example, even if you are doing manual test, live testing, you can use interactions, and we capture everything that you are doing during your testing. Network logs that I mentioned, device vital, CPU and memory usage that we capture, error and crash reporting integrated with backtrace and more. So this is in a high level. I don't have here enough time even to talk about visual test, API test, or beta test. So you are more than welcome to come to our booths if you need to hear more about everything. Thank you.
Okay, it's time for our second speaker of the night, and it's Mr. Wim Salis. And come. Wim has been here again. It's your second time here. Yeah, you've been here 2 years ago, and I don't have anything else to say. I asked him, "What do you want me to say in your opening?" And he's like, "Nothing. I'll just speak for myself." So I'll let you do that. Whenever you're ready. Are you sure you do want to say something? Another joke? No? No? Okay. I'll let you do your thing.
All right. Here we are again. Really cool to see everybody here. Last time I was here, it was on Valentine's Day. And I was really curious if people would join. I was even seeing people sitting there together with their partners. So I must have done something right, because normally on Valentine's Day you would go out for a dinner. But yeah, it was really cool to see everybody here. And now also, it's really awesome. Also, Laveena, thanks for the talk about accessibility. Keep that in the back of your mind. It's so important. It's not only the feature that you need to test. Think about other people. Think about your neighbor who might be visually handicapped. Think about it, really important. But today we're going to dive a little bit more into the bits and the bytes about automating native applications, or mobile applications at least. And yeah, what I wanted to give you at least is one sentence: expect the unexpected. What that means, well, hopefully you will understand that at the end of the session. First of all, agenda, a little bit about myself. Then we're also going to dive a little bit more into the basics. I want to give you the basics about Appium and also the different drivers, because to understand everything, I believe that you also need to know a little bit about the technique. And if you understand the technique, then getting back to your testing might become a little bit easier for you. Then I want to start, hopefully, with the easiest part, mobile browsers, and also web use, and I will explain what that means. And then last but not least, I think the most important part, expect the unexpected. So let's start. I'm Wim. Hi. I joined SaaS in 2018 as a solution architect, helping customers. I recently joined the product team, and especially the mobile team, to think about new features that we could build or how to improve our platform. All based on the fact that I just started talking in 2018 at the first Appium conference. So if you want to grow, maybe start with sharing your knowledge. That might bring you to the spot that you want to go. Based from the Netherlands, been testing since 2007. I really love mobile. I'm in the open source community, love JavaScript. I'm a contributor to this project, WebDriver.io, have multiple packages. If you want to know more about that, you can go to my GitHub page. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can look at Twitter, and maybe I tweet something nice. Yeah, maybe, yeah. But I would also love to share a fun fact that you know a little bit about myself. Previously, I shared that I love symphonic metal. If you don't know what it is, go to Spotify and search for Epica or Within Temptation, or a little bit more doomy, look for Draconian. I really love those bands. If you want to know more about it, just find me later on. But I'm also a huge electric car fan. I was talking about Twitter. No, I do not have a Tesla. If you want to know what car I have, just check it out on Twitter. You will find it there somewhere. All right, enough. I wanted to take a picture of Petros yesterday evening when I told him that I had 74 slides. So this could be Petros But I think this is kind of like the thing that a lot of people have when they start with their automation. Because if you look at Appium, automating mobile applications with Appium can be a pain, can be really hard, and especially if you just start with it. And there are some things that you might have, like if you build your test case, and this is not specifically for Appium, this could also be for Selenium or whatever framework that you're using, you basically want to rely on your test output. If you're not there and everything is running unattended in your pipeline, you want to know that if it's green, that it's really green, or if it's red, why it's red. Then we also want maintainable code. I started coding when, well, was it? I think 2000 something, and I coded spaghetti. You might have been there also, your first test automation project, spaghetti. Try to maintain it, try to add new features. It's pretty hard. So we want to have at least maintainable code. And last but not least, we also want, at least I'm lazy, I want to script once and want to run it on multiple devices. I do not want to have any if-else statements, because if you have if-else statements, your code is hardly maintainable. And these are kind of like the things that I was thinking about. How can you now make sure that if you're running your automation, that you can rely on it, that it is easy? And those are kind of like the things that I want to share with you. But I wanted to start also with Appium and also the drivers. And by the way, this is not the brand that I'm having. So this is Mercedes, a gas car. This is not electric. I first want to look into the applications. First, web applications. Basically just a website that's resizable, responsive. You can run it on your Android device with Chrome, or if you use, for example, an iOS device, you would use Safari. This is the driver that's being used. A lot of people might recognize this. This is the default driver that you would also have for Chrome on your desktop. So there's no difference there. If you would look, for example, at Appium itself, if you would install it on your local machine, by default, you would get the latest driver for it. You can do some tweaks, you can get older versions, you can even let Appium download it automatically. But that's kind of like the thing that Appium will automatically do for you. For iOS, it's not Safari driver. It's the Appium remote debugger, because Safari driver will not work in a grid. It will not, you need to have a Mac. It's kind of like a pain. But this is something that the Appium team made. And if you would look into the logs, you would also see that driver, basically Appium remote debugger, doing something, asking about pages, page information. That's the driver that's being used. Then we also have native applications. Native applications use or the Appium UI Automator 2 driver. Again, that one will be delivered automatically when you install Appium, or the Appium Espresso driver. The default one is the UI Automator 2 driver. I will not dive too much into the details, but again, these are the two drivers that you would get for Android by default. For iOS, it's the XUI test driver. You might have heard of XUI test. A lot of developers use it. Appium uses the same technology. I will get back to this later on. Then we also have hybrid applications. And hybrid applications are basically a combination between the native application and web pages. And if you would automate this with Appium, you'll have multiple drivers in one session. First of all, for the native part, for example, the top, that's the native part for Android. Again, you would have these two drivers. For iOS, you would have the XUI test driver. But for the web view, it's basically just a web page. So you would use those two drivers. So you might now wonder, okay, why are you walking me through those drivers? Every driver has its own way of communicating. Every driver has its own way of giving information back also to your automation script. And to make it a little bit harder or easier, let's just walk through the steps that your script is doing and then going to the device and all the steps back. Because one of the remarks and also one of the things that make Appium really hard is that Appium is automating your application from the outside, not from the inside. Tools like XUI test and Espresso, they can automate it from the inside. They have a little bit of access to the source code. With Appium, you're automating it like a user, basically with your fingers. So what will happen? You create your test script, and that test script will communicate through library calls with the Appium client. That's the part that you install on your local machine or that you have in your pipeline. This is basically the Appium driver. That Appium client will communicate or using the JSON wire protocol or the WebDriver protocol, the W3C protocol, with the Appium server. That one is also something that you need to install on your local machine. I will get back to it, how it works in the cloud. Then there's an in-memory communication, and that in-memory communication goes to the XUI test driver, the one that we already mentioned before, Appium XUI test driver. Then there's an internal JSON wire protocol that goes to a specific application that is being installed on the device. That application, the WebDriver agent, can then communicate through library calls with the official XUI test code on the device. And then with their own proprietary protocol from Apple, you can communicate with whatever you want on that device. Then we also need to get back. This might also give you an idea about how fast or how slow it might be. Just again, keep this in the back of your mind. We will use this also later on. I also mentioned I wanted to get back. What's the difference in running this on your local machine or running this in the cloud? It's basically this. You only need to have your test script, and you only need to have your Appium client, your driver. You don't need anything more. The rest will be done. First part, it's in your local pipeline, or the rest can be done in the cloud with, for example, Sauce Lab. So you don't need to think about which Appium version, what kind of stuff. Everything will be done in the cloud for you. Makes it really easy. You don't need to have a Mac. You can just use Windows. You can use Ubuntu, whatever you want in your pipeline just to do the scripting. And to make it a little bit easier, all the drivers. But we're going to focus a little bit more on this. And like I mentioned, I wanted to start also with the web part. I think it will be easier, but let's just see if it is easier, yes or no. So let's start with mobile browsers, and also let's start with web views and some tips, tricks, best practices on using this and understanding this. So we will dive a little bit more into the technique. First best practice. Use detailed context data over default context data. You all get it? Awesome. Now, if we're talking about this detailed context data, then we first need to go back to a context. What is a context? Easy, isn't it? Well, maybe a few slides back, you saw that I was mentioning there's a native context with native applications. You can even use that native context to automate even the OS if you want. And you also have a web view context or a web context. That's a specific context that can communicate with a browser. That's the only thing that you basically need to think about. And there are default ways in getting information about a context, and that's where we dive a little bit more into the details. Appium understands 1 to n context. What I mean with n, it can see 20 contexts, depending how complex your application is. Or if you have multiple tabs open on Chrome or on Safari. And that's something that we're going to dive into a little bit more. Because if we, for example, would compare iOS and Android, then this is the context that maybe a lot of people might know. If there's a command in Appium that you can say, get context, and that one will by default always return native app. But we also have, for example, WebView applications. And a WebView application for Android will look like, oh, there it is. We've got WebView underscore and then kind of like a package name or something on Android. And the same also for Chrome. For iOS, they like numbers. And I don't know if these are the sales numbers of Apple. I don't know how they get to those numbers. Those are just random numbers. If we dive a little bit more into the details, what does that mean? Well, naming convention for Android is always WebView underscore and then the name of your package. So depending if you automate a hybrid application, then it could be, as you see here, com and then dot Sauce Labs hybrid app. But it could also be EasyJet, depending what the name is of the application that you're going to automate. If we look at iOS, there's a naming convention which is WebView ID. Again, not something that we could really use. And especially if I have multiple web views, which one should I select? Well, if we have our web application, let's just start with that. We can use it on a desktop browser, on an iPad, or on a device, doesn't matter. If we use default data, we can use, for example, Appium Inspector. I don't know if anybody ever used Appium Inspector. This is kind of like the interface, the GUI of Appium, what Appium can see. Screenshot and also a little bit more about the source. So if you go to the Commands tab, which is basically there, and you would then use the drop-down context, and again, the second drop-down context, you can get the context list, basically all the contexts that are available. If I would do that for Android, you would get a pop-up saying native app, in this case Chromium. You might now wonder, hey, where is the WebView underscore? To be honest, I don't know where it is. We will get back to that later on. iOS, really awesome. We've got the WebView now, again, a random number. If you need to automate this, you don't need to worry about this, especially when you start with Safari as a browser name, or if you start with Chrome as a browser name, it will by default select the right context for you. So there's no complexity here. But yeah, we can get some complexity. Oh, I zoomed it in, sorry. I thought that would be easier to read, sorry. There will become some complexity when we especially have multiple tabs. If we would do this again, we have a second website, and we would now open the context, and now let me zoom in. Yeah, there it is. We would see for Android, even though we've got two apps or two web views open, we would only see Chromium. And for iOS, we would now see two. So which is the active one? Which is the one that I need to select? And that's where we need to dive a little bit more into the details, because details in some cases really matter. So if we do this again, but then change the command, go to the Commands tab, select Device, select Execute Script, click on the Execute button. Do I zoom in? Yes, I zoom in. And we provide this information, mobile, colon, get context, and just provide an empty array. We will get more information back. Really useful information. Let me zoom in a little bit more. This is for Android. What you would see here now is that you will get more information about what is happening on this device. And this is also how it works with hybrid applications, but I just wanted to use this mobile website as an example. Some information here about the package. Now we have the package name. And here, even at the bottom, we still have WebView Chrome. I don't know why, but it's something from Appium itself, I think. But I think this is the most important part. We now have more information about which URL is loaded. And we can now, instead of switching to the web view and then ask for the title, doing extra WebDriver calls, we can prevent that by doing one WebDriver call and just look into this information. You need to be a little bit, how do you say it? You need to be able to process the data here so you can select the right web view. But it's basically just this information that will help you already. You could here see also that it is a page. Sometimes you might get different data back. If you do the querying, just make sure that you have a page. And then you would find an ID, and you would also find a description if it's available, or also the URL. So you can just do a search on that. That's the first thing that you could do. For iOS, there's a difference in the data that you get back. As you can already see, let's just zoom in, that's easier. For iOS, you will get back an array of objects, as we call it. You would see also the native app. That's not something that you saw with Android. Android only gave back the web views. And here you would have the two pages, again with the title, and also again with the bundle ID and also the URL. So if you would use that detailed data, what would be the advantages if you would look at automation, and what would be the disadvantages? First of all, if you would do that, you will get basically just more information. It will make your life easier. You don't need to do a lot of WebDriver calls. So your script will also be faster and less flaky, because the more commands you would add into your automation, the flakier it could get. It will also work on whatever OS, even though there is a difference, but I will get back to that one later on. Some cons. What is basically from this best practice, what would be something that you need to take into consideration? You need to know a little bit more about how Appium works and also how the drivers work. So that gets back to what I explained about the different drivers and the information that they give back. You need to create it your own. And last but not least, script to select a web view might become a little bit more complex. need to love to dive a little bit more into this, but when you've got this right, then your scripts will be more stable in selecting the right web view. A tip. Just the example, like I've shown, this is Android. This is for iOS. If you're going to create a method, then my advice would be just to create your own API that you want to use to select it. And there are different types of ways to do this. My suggestion would be to at least add the ID, a title, a URL. WebView name is data that you get back from Android. Bundle ID is data that you get back from iOS. If you want to know how to create this, and again, it is in JavaScript. You need to love JavaScript like I do. There's a link. I will share slides afterwards that will get you to some code and that you can use as an example. But there's something else, another best practice. Always switch to the web view. If you have a hybrid application, then what I've seen with a lot of our customers at SaaS Labs is that they automate the web page with native selectors. That's not something that I would advise. It's flaky, it's slow, it might not give the right information back. So always switch to the web view. And that, again, if we would look at Appium Desktop, you would have, for example, this is a web page inside of a native application. It's a hybrid application, as you can see. We have a button here that has a specific ID. We also have that for iOS. Again, we would have an element here, same one, but the way to select this is pretty different. There is a login button here as an ID for Android, and for iOS there is a name here. So you cannot really use your Selenium knowledge that you have for automating applications. So we need to switch to that web view, because then you would see that we would have the name attribute, or we would have an accessibility ID or an ID that we can use to find that unique element. And then it will work for Android and it will work for iOS. And again, you need to think about that. Web views, make sure that you select the right web view for iOS or for Android. So what are the pros and what are the cons also for this best practice when we're talking about automating hybrid applications? First of all, pros, well, you can already, if you do this properly, you can already use your existing Selenium knowledge to select your elements. It will make your script faster. You can even inject all kinds of magic, cookies, and whatever you want to skip and to go to certain URLs even in your application. So it makes it really fast. There are also some cons. Again, you need to know what the web views are, how you can select them, how you can basically use that information. You need to create it your own, and again, it might become a little bit complex. But if you have an application that starts immediately with the web view, so if you have a hybrid application and the first view is a web view, then I have a tip for you. You don't even need to think about all those web views. You don't even need to think about all that logic. Appium has a nice feature for it. When it starts, like I mentioned, with a web view, your first screen is a web view, make sure that you add this capability. It will save you a lot of time, because it will then start as, for example, a Selenium session. So you can just select your elements with the normal knowledge, no complex stuff here. So two, hopefully, between quotes, simple tips. I provide also some code examples, so you can also watch them and just see if those two ones are useful for you. But now comes a little bit the harder part. We need to expect the unexpected, and this is something that we need to be aware of when we're going to automate native applications. Because native applications, they look completely different, they behave differently than web applications. So again, getting back, we've got those two ones. One thing that we need to be aware of also with this automation, with automating native applications, is that a lot of people, when they start their automation, they start only with an emulator or a simulator or a real device, one specific type connected to their machine. That could also cause some automation challenges. For example, I just had a large phone. Now I'm going to use a small phone. In this case, I would now see, for example, the header here. And if I want to get, for example, the text, or if I want to select that element, it's here. Pretty easy. But That's nice. That was Siri. He didn't understand me. We also have information here, but we're not seeing this. We would see this information if we have a larger device, but not with a smaller device. And if I would scroll down, or if I would swipe down, I would see that I have that Add to Cart button. That Add to Cart button on Android is now there, visible, but where is my header? I cannot see my header text. So thinking again about this, your users are using different devices. Are you also automating on different devices? Or are you only automating on one specific device? If we would do this for iOS, then for iOS, to get one slide less for Petros, I only swiped up to the swipe down. You would see the button and the elements also here. But there's also the header text. So again, with Android, we are not seeing everything. iOS, we're seeing at least both elements in the source. We can communicate with it. We can ask if we can click on it or if it's visible, yes or no. So let's get back to the drivers. The two drivers that are out there, or at least 3 for Android, 2 for Android and 1 for iOS. For Android, it only gives back the elements that are in the view. That's why Android, normally for the automation, is pretty fast. So everything that's on the screen can be seen, can be found in the source. Everything that's below the fold, like if this would be a smaller screen, then the Add Cart button would not be shown. You cannot find it, you cannot click on it, you cannot do an assertion on text or whatever. It can be changed with the settings API. I will get back to that one later on. And as you already saw, there are some differences also in attributes. If you would look at the XUI test driver, it gives back almost all elements on the screen. Makes it easier to do a query, makes it easier to do just a verification of text, even if text is not fully visible. Pretty easy to use there. But like I mentioned, there are different attributes. They've got different names. These are things that you need to be aware of when we're talking about automating native applications. So what is the best practice here? If we need to automate, for example, a flow where I want to add something to my cart, but I also want to make sure that I can use this on whatever device I want to use for automation. Doesn't matter if I use an iPhone SE or an iPhone 14 Pro Max with a very large screen. If you want to create a script which is stable, which is not flaky, you should be aware of this. Validate visibility and scroll automatically if needed. This is something that I would advise everybody to implement. There are some pros, there are some cons, but why do we need to do that? You might have heard of the W3C spec, you might have heard about how this is being done in Selenium. Basically with Selenium, every click on an element, every interaction will automatically scroll that element into the view. That is not something that is going to happen on mobile devices, not with native applications. So that is something you need to implement yourself. So if you're going to implement this, and I will share that later on, if you're going to implement this, what are the pros and what are the cons? Because you might get slower scripts or something, you'll never know. Pros. First of all, this will make your script more stable. Pretty easy, at least to understand. You can just run it on whatever OS version, you can run it on whatever screen size. It's doing this automatically for you. You need to add some logic for this, but this will make it definitely more stable. The downside of this is also that it makes it slower. The visibility check is really time-consuming. It's a heavy process. We had a conversation this morning also with the Camelot team, and visibility check is a really good one, but you might, for example, also want to check if an element is really in the view. And there are different techniques to do that, to determine the position of a scrollable container where your elements are being scrolled, and also then check the height of that element. All kinds of techniques to do that. I'm just using a very simple visibility check. There might be some edge cases even for that. So how would you do that? Now we dive a little bit more into the code. Hopefully this is readable for everybody. Let me just highlight a few things. My advice would be to create a generic method where you would say, I provide an element, basically the element that you want to find. I want to provide a scrollable container. Why? Because you might have a menu bar at the bottom or a tab bar at the bottom. And if you start your swiping, you don't want to start there because then swiping will not help. So provide the area in which you want to swipe. And then secondly, or last, you would have your max scrolls. If you do not provide anything, it will have a default of 5, for example. It will scroll 5 times. And also you can revert it. That you would say instead of going up, just doing it down. So you can use it for whatever swipe you want to do. Then I would introduce a for loop or whatever you want to do within the language that you're using. And in that for loop, the first thing that you would do is just check, is this element visible? If it's visible, just go out of this method and it will save you some time. And again, there are different ways in verifying if something is visible. But if it's not visible, then get the position of the element. Get the position of the element. And if it's not in there, it will automatically just scroll. And what I mean with position of the element, this is the position of the scrollable container. You just determine an X, a Y width of that element. And then do some calculations here. In the end, you would try to determine the center. It's basically just the center of the width of your device or of the element, height, and also the starting position and the end position. If you would do that, you can then let Appium swipe, and that is being done with a W3C action. I just shared this code here on purpose because this is one of the hardest things to do, to create a action. But if you create a action, just think about how a user or how yourself would do that if you need to swipe on your screen. A few steps like create an event, like with a finger, you're creating a touch event, and then just move your finger into the start position. That's what you always need to do. Then your finger comes in contact with your screen. Then just do a little bit of a pause. That's also what you do. Basically, every step will help you create that swipe event. Again, we'll share this link. Getting back, it's executing the swipe, determining if it needs to scroll up or needs to scroll down. This method will do that automatically for you. So it determines visibility. If it's not visible, it will scroll. If it's visible, it will go to the next method. If you introduce this, then it doesn't matter if you use a tablet, if you use a small phone, if you use a foldable or whatever, this will help and this will make it more stable. Then an example on how to implement this. If you use page objects, for example, this is apart from my page objects. I have an add item to cart. And I just use the method where I provide the element and the scrollable element. The rest is being defaulted. And then last but not least, this is my, I always add a pause just to make sure that your scroll is done. Also prevent flakiness. I know pauses are not always the best things to do, but you never know how fast or basically how that swipe is being executed on your device. So I always wait at least 1 second just to make sure that it's done. Last but not least, this is the way to implement it. So from getting really codey and nerdy into bits and bytes, this is just the way how you can implement this in your code. Really easy, just a one-liner. Create it once, use it multiple times. Then a tip. This is for Android. And if we're talking about scrolling, what we just created is a method that you could use on Android and on iOS. For Android, there's an easier way. I wanted to find the 1C that's here at the bottom. I want to click on it, but I cannot find the 1C. But there is a specific way, which is the UI Automator selector. If you really like to nerd out, I will give you the links later on. This one can automatically find that element for you. Doesn't matter if you need to scroll up or if you need to scroll down, it will do this automatically for you. And as you can see, the 1C is there. So by implementing kind of like some code, basically what you see here, use this specific locator strategy, and then use this specific code. You could do that just with a one-liner for Android. There's not something there for iOS, but this might make it really easy for Android. And if you want to know more, again, if you want to nerd out in the weekend or at your work, these are the pages that you can take a look at and understand which technologies you can use. So let's go to another problem or challenge. Problem, challenge, yeah. Automating forms. We've done this with Selenium, but with native applications, we have a challenge here. Because on this screen, I would see basically all my fields. On Android, I might not see all the fields when I use my keyboard. So what does a user need to do? He needs to enter data into a field, then needs to click outside of the field, or he needs to use kind of like your key down if that's possible on your device. And then again, he needs to go to the next field, and the next field, and the next field. If you don't automate this properly, you will get stuck, especially on a small screen, but on a larger screen with a lot of fields, you will get stuck. Same also for iOS, you see it here. This is with the keyboard on an iPhone 13. If I would do this with the keyboard enabled on an iPhone SE, then you would see that you don't even have all the fields. So how should you handle this? Another best practice or a tip. Hide your keyboard after each interaction. That is something that I would advise almost everybody for native applications, because that keyboard will kill you in the end. Let's take a look at it. Pros, because we have pros and cons for every best practice. Pros. It makes your script more stable. It's cross-device. It doesn't matter if we're talking about iOS or Android or what the size of your screen is. It prevents also a lot of if-else statements in your code, and as you might remember, we want to make it maintainable, our code. So if you would implement something that would hide your keyboard after each interaction, you could make it more maintainable. No extra if-else statements. There are also some cons. Again, it makes it a little bit slower. We're going to add a few extra WebDriver calls. So how should I implement this? Oh yeah, and one thing, sometimes you might have auto scrolls into new fields. If that is something that your application has implemented, then you might not want to do the auto hiding. Just keep that in the back of your mind. So how should we use this? Here's an example. We have a method which is called a custom method hide keyboard. And now again, you might say, okay, hide keyboard, there is a driver.hide keyboard from Appium. You're right, but that one does not work for iOS, just to make it easier. So you need to implement something for iOS. But the first thing that we're going to implement here is verify if the keyboard is there, yes or no. If it's not there, then don't implement all those magic code, all those magic lines. Just stop and just go to the next thing that you want to add the value or send keys. Second thing, we need to determine if we're iOS. Normally, depending on the framework that you're using, you could add a global parameter or a global variable to, for example, the driver, and you could just say, am I iOS, yes or no? If you're iOS, I would advise you to use, for example, ID is return. 9 out of 10 times your application would support English, but if you're using a different language, then you need to translate this to the return value to the value that you're using in your application. You can easily use Appium Inspector to detect the value of the return key. This one will, in 99% of the cases, just work. For Android, just use the Appium way, but if there's something not working, I always like to add some try catches. So we would also have the back button. And last but not least, also hiding your keyboard will take some time. It's never guaranteed that it will be half a second or a second. This is a value that works for me. Pretty easy to implement. Code it once, use it all the time. But then you might wonder, okay, I have a field with numbers. So I have a different keyboard. There's no return on a number keyboard. Correct. We do almost the same magic. We call it only hide numeric keyboard. Again, same logic if it's not shown. The thing is here that we're going to click on top, not on the one number itself. We're going to click a little bit above it, and then it will click basically on the field above your keyboard. It will hide the keyboard. And for Android, we will just do the same. So that's also something that you could use when you're going to fill forms. automatically hide your keyboard. Then, problem number 5. This is something that I also see a lot with people that want to automate native applications. They're used to this. They've got an application like this, and they want to have the text of the container. They want to have the text of all the elements that are in this container. So normally with, for example, Selenium, you would say just container element get text. It would find that specific element, and as you can see in the stores, everything is there. It will give you back, so you would get all the information. You can do some assertion on that. You don't need to do multiple calls to get the text. You can now do multiple assertions, which will save you a lot of time. Really easy for the web. You can even do this on Chrome, on Android, and on Safari, on iOS. But when we're talking about native applications, then this is not possible, or not always possible. Let's take a look at this example. What we have here is iOS. If I would, for example, say container element, that's basically this element. I want to get the text that's in this container. If you would look into Appium Inspector, then you would see that there's a lot of information, and you would get back at least Sauce Labs backpack and the price. You can do an assertion on that. You don't need to query all the elements to get the text. Pretty easy to use, almost similar to what we do on the web. Android. How will it work for Android? Well, again, we're going to do the element get text of the container element. And what do we have? Nothing. We get back nothing. So if you want to do some assertions here, you're stuck. So how should you solve this? Or why is this? Well, you might remember that I mentioned that Android only gives you back the elements that are in the view. So how should we solve this problem? You can do some nice magic. Let's get back to this specific element. For iOS, again, getting the text of, for example, this one, pretty easy. I will get all the information. All the detailed information of this backpack. But for Android, again, if I would do that on a different page, I would only get nothing. There's no product description. So we need to think about a different way of getting the text. Make it more cross-platform. So how can we do that? Well, first of all, the problem we have, we cannot get the text of children elements also that are living in a parent element on Android. Second challenge that we have also, that you already saw, is that non-visible elements are not being returned. So we cannot get all the data, especially, for example, if your text is showing half on the screen. You would only get half of your text back. So let's get back to this one, to the best practice. Create a cross-platform get element text method. Again, looking at pros, looking at cons. What should we be aware of? First of all, if you would be able to do this, it would make your script more stable. Doesn't matter if you're talking about Android or iOS, just use a generic method for iOS and for Android, and you can do your assertions. It will save you a lot of WebDriver calls, hopefully. It's cross-platform and also cross-device. Again, downside might be that it would cost you extra WebDriver calls. That could cause some flakiness. But, tip, let's first take a look at how we can create a method for this. Again, we have a method, a function here, get text of element. The only thing we need to provide is basically the element itself. So if we have that parent container, then we can just say, okay, if I'm Android, because I already stored that on my globals, I already have the element. So what I'm doing now, and this is kind of like a nice sign from WebDriver.io, give me all the elements inside of this parent that at least have this type of text, or this class, android.widget.textView. Those are basically the elements that you need to search for inside of your parent container. It will give you an array of elements back, depending if you would have multiple text views. Just loop with a for loop over it, and in the end, use a trim. Because sometimes you might have added a space in front of it, or there's a space at the end. The trim will basically just remove this. This is a way that you can use
text or get text from elements, container elements, sorry, parent container elements for iOS and also for Android. But there's more. Let's just go to the last one. Like I already mentioned, there is a settings API. There is some magic somewhere hidden within Android that you could use that will give you back more elements. So let's dive into that one. If I would again go back to this screen, and if I want to get data from this screen, I'm now only seeing these elements. I see an image view, nothing more. Let's go to the commands. Let's go to the session, and let's go to settings. Because there is a feature within Appium that you could tell the Android driver just to return more elements, the allow invisible elements, than are officially visible on the screen. If you would do that, you would get something like this, a null. The only thing you need to do now is refresh your source. And if I would now look into this, I would see the price, which I already saw before. But if we scroll a little bit down, yes, do it, scroll down, we would see the minus button, which is not there on the screen. We would see the add to cart button. We would see the product description. So we will get back more elements, and then we could almost do the same as what we can do with iOS. And now, if you want to verify if a text is there, you don't need to scroll. You can just use the update settings and just get the text from it. So more information about that can also be found in the Appium documentation. Basically, what you need to implement before you're going to execute this is you need to update the settings. There's a driver.update settings. You provide an object here, and then for Android, you will get back more information. And that information will help you fix your flaky scripts, reduce the amount of calls, and in the end, make everything more stable, and sometimes even faster. Doesn't matter which device you're running it on. But there's more. But I'm also thirsty. So if you want to know more about this, feel free to ask me before I drink a cocktail. You can also find me on Twitter, on LinkedIn. If you have any questions about this, feel free to connect with me, and I'm happy to also help you with this. I think I made Petros a little bit happy because I'm in my 45 minutes now. I'm 7 seconds over, sorry. But yeah, what I wanted just to say to everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to Laveena, to me. Hopefully it was useful. And I will give the mic back to you, Daria.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wim. There's a couple of more, that was terrible English. There are a couple more sponsors that we would like to hear from tonight before we finish our meetup. The first one is OpenBet, and may I please invite Miss Maria Carchelli on the stage. So.
Nice. Είσαι σίγουρος ότι αυτό δεν θα πέσει άμα το πατήσω εγώ? Εδώ πας εκεί αυτό. Oops.
Okay, I think we're fine now. So, hi everyone. I know that you're looking forward to get some drinks and food, but please take the next 5 minutes to meet OpenBet with me. So, my name is Maria Carchelli, and I'm head of QA in OpenBet. And I'm really happy to be here because I meet some old friends, some new friends, and some friends to be, I hope. So let's see what is OpenBet, who we are, and what we do. And yeah, so OpenBet is a leading sports betting company. And we are offering sports betting entertainment experience the last 25 years. We have passion for innovation, and we are also investing in modular and flexible technology so that we can offer the best experience to our customers. So our vision, an ecosystem that reimagines betting entertainment for billions of sports funds, and our mission to raise the stakes and deliver unrivaled access to the world's most comprehensive betting ecosystem. Sounds a lot, I know. So, well, we are more than 1,200 team members across 10 countries all over the world. And we have licenses in 34 jurisdictions and compliant with DLI 33. Also, we have some of the world's top sports betting brands, as you can see, like William Hill, FanDuel, Betson, Skybet, Dankespiel, and many more. Also, some more numbers for those who like numbers. So from these numbers, I would keep that we have, on top of what we said already, 100% uptime on key events, more than 60K peak bets per minute. These numbers are quite big. And also $100 billion market cap of client base. 34 licenses, more than 75 clients worldwide, as we said, and more than 1,200 employees across the world. So, all of you recognize all these tools. You know what these are. So, these are the tools that we're using in our teams. But on top of that, we also create our own tooling, in-house tooling, so that we can enable more our teams, our QAs within our teams to be able to automate more. And we, of course, using these for functional and non-functional testing, as you can see, on top of what we built in-house. You can take a minute, if you like, to learn more about us, to ask about our openings, to ask about how we do our testing, how we have structured our teams, and how we operate. So I'm happy to answer any questions. You can find us in our booth or later during the drinks. Thank you so much, and happy to be here.
Thank you very much, OpenBet. Last but not least, we have Athos. And may I please invite the representative, Mr. Gavril Papadopoulos, on the stage, so he can give us a little talk. Do you want the mic from up here? No? Okay. And then we have the klerosi. What's the word for klerosi? The draw. Thank you. Yes, the draw. So, yes.
Yeah, hi everyone. I won't keep you long because the pitchers are waiting, so just 5 minutes. Okay, I'm Gavril Papadopoulos. I'm from Athos. I'm a test analyst, and I'll tell you a little bit what we are doing in Athens. So Athos is a big French multinational company that it's the main partner of the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games since 2000. Main areas of Athos is the IT and services, also many sectors like public safety, defense, health. But we are not doing everything here in Greece. I will tell you exactly what our major focus is. So we have a product house in Athens. We are more than 300 people, and we have our own products. So the basic projects that we are working at the moment is the NG911 and 112. So that's the two public safety numbers that you all know. The current success and the current customers that we have is the state of California and US, that we provide the software and the backbone for NG911, and we're about to expand to the nearby states like Arizona and Texas. Also, we are building our own telephony devices that we are selling more than 1.5 million devices per year. And now we have the new line in collaboration with the Gigaset company. And also we are building our own collaboration tools to help us deliver fast and quality results to our customers. So number one priority for us is quality, and to do that we are doing automation and manual testing. We are using the Agile framework to work in our business, and also we are giving very much attention to integrating and continuous learning throughout trainings and stuff. Another thing that we are very focused on is innovation and patenting, because we are filing more than 10 patents per year in the European Patent Organization. And for more information about our community, the testing we are doing, and the careers, you can visit our site in Athos or come by our booth and ask us more. Thanks a lot, very much. Please enjoy the rest of your evening.
And that concludes the speakers part of the meetup. And now we're gonna do the draws. I can't speak English tonight. I'm sorry. My English is fine. Okay, we're gonna do the draws. That could be grammatically correct or not. But anyway, we're drawing. The first thing we're drawing is from Camelot, and it's the Raspberry Pi, if I'm not mistaken. And we're using the random.org thing, so you can see it. How many people took part? 106. I mean, the number is right there. So, okay. 43 is, by the way, if you hear your name, please come on the stage to receive your gift. Alexandra, I can't see the last name.
Paktiti.
Paktiti Alexandra. Show yourself. That's really nice. I want one. What is it? It's a computer. Oh, yeah. Okay. Congratulations. Okay. So the second gift, should we call them gifts? Yeah. Prizes? Okay, prizes. The second prize is a Samsung Galaxy tablet from Trasis, and it's number 94. Dun, 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 dun. There you go. Stefan Reichs. Is that German? Reichmann? Yeah. Please come on the stage. Congratulations. Okay. And the last prize was drawn by Sauce Labs, and that was drawn during the break, and it was the JBL Bluetooth speaker. And the winner is Nectarios Angelis. That was a great reaction. He has fans, or friends, or both. Congratulations. Whee! Okay. Do you want to do the closing? Yep. Okay, go for it. You. Me go for it. Okay. Well, the meetup has come to an end. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you so much to our speakers, Laveena and Wim. Thank you to our volunteers and for Petros and everyone for organizing this. And we'll see you upstairs for the pizza and the drinks. Have a good night. Oh yeah, the volunteers can come on the stage for a photo if they want. Θελοντές, αν θέλετε, μπορείτε να ανέβετε για μια φωτογραφία. Δεν πρέπει, αλλά άμα θέλετε, ανεβαίνετε. Ποιο? Oh yeah, 8th floor for the pizza and the drinks. Τον 8ο όροφο.